In this episode we'll see in Westeros, Lord Eddard Stark stands firm in the face of Cersei's fury, demanding justice for the Lannisters' wrongs even as King Robert urges peace. Eddard strips Ser Gregor Clegane of his titles and demands Tywin Lannister's presence to answer for the atrocities. Tyrion Lannister, imprisoned in the Eyrie, forces a trial by combat and secures his freedom with bronze victory. Meanwhile, Daenerys Targaryen's unborn son is foretold to be a great conqueror, while her brother Viserys' greed ends in his brutal death at the hands of Khal Drogo, marking the shifting tides of power. In the Crownlands, Lord Eddard Stark wakes up after a long period of unconsciousness due to the injuries inflicted on him by Jaime Lannister's men. He finds both King Robert Baratheon and Queen Cersei waiting. Cersei is furious with Eddard's acts in having her brother Tyrion arrested and attacking Jaime in the street. She wants Robert to take action against him, but Robert refuses to condemn him without hearing Eddard's side and tells her to be silent. When Cersei protests further and calls Robert a woman, he hits her. She says that she will wear the bruise with honor. He tells her to be silent or he will honor her again, and Cersei leaves in anger. Afterwards, Robert restores Eddard to his position as King's Hand and tells him not to quit again, or he will give the position to Jaime Lannister. He tells Lord Eddard to end the animosity between House Stark and House Lannister, as strife between these two powerful houses could lead them into war. He is leaving on a hunt and wants the realm at peace by the time he returns. Arya has another water dancing lesson with Syrio Forel, but isn't in the mood due to Jory's death. Syrio tells her that she may need to fight at any time, not just when she's in the mood. He wisely reminds her that being prepared to fight is more important in times of sadness than in peaceful times of happiness. King Robert is out hunting, accompanied by his brother Renly, Ser Barristan Selmy, and Lancel Lannister. Robert, being supplied with wine by Lancel, becomes drunk and nostalgic, longing for the days of young knights trying to make a name for themselves, and when enemies stood openly in opposition, instead of being hidden schemers. Robert brags about all the women he has bedded, but Renly becomes irate when he begins to question him about his history with women. Renly calls him a fool and remarks that the past had its share of violence that Robert is conveniently ignoring. Renly storms off, leaving Ser Barristan to look on concerned as Lancel keeps up King Robert's wine supply. In King's Landing, at a meeting of the small council, a group of refugees come to tell of how their villages have been destroyed. Eddard hears tales of a huge night ravaging the Riverlands. He realizes that it's Ser Gregor Clegane, the Mountain, who is likely under Lannister orders to punish the Riverlands, which are held by House Tully, the former house of his wife Catelyn, who now holds Tyrion captive. Even though King Robert told him to make peace with the Lannisters, Lord Eddard could not bring himself to let this injustice stand. Eddard strips Gregor Clegane of his knighthood, land, and titles, and sends Lord Beric Dondarrion with a retinue of 100 knights to arrest and execute him in the king's name. He also orders Grand Maester Pycelle to send word to Castle Rock, demanding Lord Tywin Lannister's presence in court to explain his bannerman's actions or be branded an enemy of the crown and a traitor to the realm. Littlefinger, Petyr Baelish, and Grand Maester Pycelle are both concerned with the harshness of these orders and Eddard's actions against the Lannisters, but Eddard wants to see justice done. Prince Joffrey comes to apologize to Sansa for the incident on the King's Road. He calls her his lady love and gives her a necklace. Sansa forgives him, and they seem reconciled. Sansa is unaware that the Queen put Joffrey up to the apology some time ago. Eddard decides to send his daughters back to Winterfell. Arya is worried that she must leave Syrio. Sansa protests that no one cares about her trivial dancing instructor, for they are talking about breaking her betrothal to Joffrey. Lord Eddard says that he will find someone else for her. Sansa refuses. She is going to marry Joffrey and have lots of golden-haired babies. This gives Eddard pause and sends him back to the book that Jon Arryn was looking at before he died. Consulting the book's entry on House Baratheon, Lord Eddard finds that every time a Baratheon has married, the children have had black hair, right up to Cersei and Robert's children, who are all blonde. In the north, in Winterfell, Bran has another dream about the three-eyed raven, in which it flies into the castle's crypts. He wakes up to find that Hodor has brought the finished saddle designed by Tyrion. He goes on a ride with Robb and Theon. They have had word from King's Landing about Eddard's injury, Jory's death, and Tyrion's capture. Theon thinks that Robb should prepare the North for war, but Robb is determined to make his own decision for when that time has come, and until then will follow his parents' orders to remain in Winterfell. They discover that Bran has wandered off on his horse and go looking for him, Robb finds a group of wildlings threatening Bran and trying to steal his horse. Robb kills two, but another wildling holds Bran with a knife to the throat. Theon shoots him from behind, angering Robb by endangering Bran. The remaining wildling, a woman named Osha, yields and begs for her life. Robb agrees to take her as a prisoner. Rose, the prostitute that Theon frequently sees, is departing Winterfell for King's Landing on the back of a turnip cart. Theon stops her and unsuccessfully tries to persuade her to stay. She explains that war is now imminent, and the men, and thus her customer base of Winterfell, are destined to leave soon and probably never return. Her departure is thus an economically essential decision. He throws her a coin to get her to raise her skirt one last time. As she rides off, he says that he will miss her. She agrees that he will. At the Eyrie, Tyrion almost rolls out of his sky cell in his sleep to his consternation. He tries to make a bargain with the jailer, Mord, to no avail. Tyrion convinces Mord to carry a message to Lady Lysa Arryn, and in exchange, he will give Mord the gold he had with him when he was captured. Lysa summons Tyrion, believing that the sky cell has broken his spirit, but all he confesses to is being a liar, a whoremonger, and a player of disgusting practical jokes. He maintains his innocence of the crimes of conspiracy to commit murder, specifically that of Bran Stark. However, Tyrion uses the opportunity of his audience in front of Lysa's court to publicly demand his right to justice and a trial, and Lysa is shamed into agreeing. Given that Lysa's son is a young boy and wouldn't make a good judge in a formal trial, Tyrion instead demands a trial by combat, which Lysa also reluctantly agrees is his right. Given that neither Lysa nor her young son can fight in a trial by combat, she asks for a volunteer to be her champion, and Esser Vardis Egan agrees. Egan is unwilling to fight Tyrion, however, as killing such an outmatched opponent would be dishonorable. Tyrion names his own champion, his brother Jaime, considered one of the best swordsmen in the realm. At this, Lysa does object, as Jaime is not present and she does not want to wait. She demands that he pick a champion from those present. Tyrion desperately asks for volunteers, and after a long pause during which it seems that Tyrion's cause is lost, the sellsword Bronn steps forward and says he will stand for him. Bronn fights defensively, waiting for Vardis to tire from being dressed in his full armor. Bronn finally gets his chance. He first wounds, and then kills Vardis, sending his body rolling out of the moon door that leads to a 1,000-foot drop. Lysa complains that Bronn did not fight with honor. Bronn agrees, but indicates that Vardis did fight with honor. Having proven his innocence in the eyes of the gods, Tyrion retrieves his gold from Esser Roderick and gives it to Mord. When Robin asks if he can make the little man fly now, Tyrion says, "This little man is going home." Bronn and Tyrion are allowed to depart. In Vaes Dothrak, Daenerys Targaryen is studying her dragon eggs. Despite Illyrio's claim that they are now only stone, she ponders if they might be hatched by extreme heat and places an egg on a brazier. Nothing happens to her disappointment. She is removing the egg from the brazier when Eyrie comes in and thinks she will burn herself. Eyrie takes the egg from her, but Daenerys is completely unharmed, and it is Eyrie who suffers burns on her own hands. Daenerys is summoned by the crones who rule the city, the Dosh Khaleen, the wives of Khal slain in battle. She eats a stallion's raw heart, and the crones read the omens. At first it seems Dany won't keep the organ down, but to both her and Drogo's relief, she is able to compose herself. The crones declare Daenerys and Drogo's son will be the stallion that mounts the world, a great conqueror whose coming is long foretold in Dothraki history. Daenerys says his name will be Rhaego, for her brother Rhaegar, slain by the usurper Robert Baratheon. Viserys is not impressed and rather disgusted by it all. Despite an explanation of the ritual from Jorah Mormont, it is only when the Dothraki are chanting Rhaego's name, and Drogo lifts Daenerys up and carries her about the room, that Viserys realizes they love her. Jealous of the tribe's worship of his sister, Viserys storms out of the tent. He is later discovered in Daenerys' tent by Esser Jorah Mormont, trying to steal Dany's dragon eggs, but Jorah won't let him. Viserys tells Esser Jorah that to rule one must be feared or loved, and he has never been loved as the Dothraki love Dany. He says he knows that Jorah wants Daenerys, but he doesn't care. He just wants the eggs so he can hire an army, but he can't get past Esser Jorah and must leave the eggs. Mormont watches him as he leaves. Drunk, bitter, and angry, Viserys interrupts a feast for Daenerys and Drogo. He angrily demands his payment in return for giving Daenerys to Drogo. He draws his sword, which is considered an offense punishable by death in the sacred city, and threatens Dany and the unborn child, while Eyrie translates to Drogo. Drogo responds that he will give Viserys a golden crown that men will tremble to behold, and Viserys is pleased, until Drogo's bloodrider Kotho seizes him and breaks his arm, making him drop the sword and kicks him to the floor. Drogo melts his golden belt of medallions in a pot, while Viserys begs Daenerys to help him. Ser Jorah tells her to look away, but she won't. She watches as Khal Drogo crowns Viserys by pouring molten gold over his head, causing Viserys to cry out horridly in agony. Viserys falls forward, his head making a loud clang as it connects with the floor. As Daenerys watches her brother die, she coldly states that having been killed by fire, Viserys was no true dragon.